So this is going to be an interactive session, and I'm looking forward to contribution from everyone and exchange ideas and opinions. Even I'm looking to forward to learning from all of you guys. So if you have any question, feel free to ask. If you have any idea or any experience you would like to share, feel free to do that. Anybody over here who have previously served as a president? Oh, so Sue, can you, Sue and Doug? So what I would request is the moment when you're sharing, if you can unmute and share your name as well. So I will also get to learn how your name is properly pronounced. So I'll also try to pronounce the name properly.
Sula Chance Porter, but I go by Sula.
Sula. All right. Thank you, Sula. And Doug, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. All right.
Yes, you are.
Thank you, Doug.
Lillian Howard.
Thank you.
Lillian Howard.
Valerian Howard. Thank you.
Lillian. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can you see my PowerPoint?
No.
Not yet. All right.
Just see your no.
You're just seeing your background.
Yeah.
All right.
Sunish.
Oh, there you go.
Just a minute. Okay. Just try it once more. Just a moment. Facing technical challenge.
If you can't figure it out, you could ask Johnny, but she's probably preoccupied.
Okay. So let's start in the meantime as the PowerPoint comes up. Let's start with the program. So most of you have seen the president of your club. So what is your impression of the president of the club? And I'm going to ask Doug and Sula to hold on and share their views since they have done the role of the president, maybe contribute after we hear from the others. So what is your impression of the role of the president?
Well, it's the buck stopper, I would say. I think Brandon would agree. I've actually, Brandon's in here. I've learned a lot from Brandon. Brandon's new to Toastmasters, but he's the incoming president of one of the clubs I'm in. But about me, about my experience. I have had my challenge, well, the club where I've been president most and currently is an online specialty club. And that's a special animal. We focus on national topics and controversial topics, and the challenge I have there is holding on to members. People tend to get dragged down by the weight of the subject matter, and it's hard to keep people. It's hard to add humor. I'm not a funny person, and so it's hard to incorporate humor and liveliness into our program, and that's a big challenge I have. A more relevant to everyone challenge would be I tend to take on everything. Things that aren't being done, I'll just do them and wait to fix it later, and the later never happens. That's what I would add.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you for sharing that. And talking about humor, adding humor, whether it's in our leadership or our speeches, let me share a personal anecdote. Today, just before this session, I delivered a speech at my club, and the pathway is engaging humor. And I got a lot of applauses, and I felt good that I was able to make people laugh. But at the same time, I remembered 7 years back when I participated in a humorous contest. I took a lot of effort, had those punchlines written down, but nobody laughed where they were supposed to laugh. Or at least in my mind, I thought people will laugh. And that's where I would resonate that most of the skill are learnable. That's the one thing I've learned in Toastmasters. With patience and persistence, we can learn any skill, whether it's leadership or humor. As long as we have intent, what is that skill we want to learn? And I think we give ourselves enough time and space, we can develop any skill. Now, coming to the role of the club president, it is the chief executive officer of the club in many sorts and is responsible for fulfilling the mission of the club. The president presides at the meetings of the club. So if the president is not able to come for any of the meeting, so he or she can ask the next person in the hierarchy, the vice president education. Yes. Yeah.
Hi, Sunish. I want
Yeah.
to make sure you're recording, right?
Yes, I am recording.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Sorry to bother
Thank
you.
I'm not at all. Thank you. So the president is the person who presides over the meeting. And in case if he or she is not able to make for any meeting, or I have come across certain clubs where if the president is giving a speech or taken the role of the Toastmaster of the day, president asks the next person in hierarchy, the vice president education or the vice president membership, for that particular person meeting, why don't you preside? So that's something I've seen. Another responsibility is like how we saw in the earlier program today, how Pat was mentioning about the distinguished club program. Now, in terms of ensuring that as a club, the club is somewhere pursuing the distinguished club program, the president takes the lead on that, whether in terms of having that communication and discussion with the excom, or maybe inspiring and the motivating the members of the club, whether in terms of level completion or maybe attending a club training program like today. I hope you guys have reached out to your fellow club officers and asked them that you have attend the program, and like how I would reiterate what Pat mentioned, probably not just 4 people for the DCP points, but if we can include all the 7 club officers, like go for the club training and get trained. I would like to take a pause and then ask you guys any other thing which comes to your mind apart from Doug has already contributed. Anybody else would like to share any responsibility? So I want this to be an interactive session. Yes, Sarvanan.
Yeah. Hey, Sunish, Saravanan Logo, you can call me Sarav. I view the president role more like a chief service officer, as the mission says. And to one more way, I look at it as a chief orchestrator of bringing in all officers and achieving the mission. That's how I see the role. I have been a VP in the past, so I've observed the role of president close, but that's how I see the president role in the club. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarvanan. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, Jacob, I saw you as well raise your hand.
I had a similar response. Basically, the club president essentially is kind of like a weird mixture of the CEO, upper management, kind of delegating, but also working together as a team, uplifting, encouraging the other members of the exec to collaborate together to where we could benefit our members best.
Thank you, Jacob. Thank you for sharing that. One of the things I would encourage, as you are the president of the club, is something my vice president education asked me. We used to have a lot of long calls. He was a new member who had joined and he was very, very enthusiastic. And I used to always encourage members of the club, my club officers, ask questions. Always ask questions. And today, when I conduct sessions, it has helped me a lot because they asked me the question, it helped me to answer better. And I always say that ask questions from a space of curiosity, not from a space of challenging the authority. And whenever I ask question, I try to ask from that frame of mind. And whenever I try to answer the question, I try to frame from that space of mind. And that's when I like when Pat mentioned that somebody asked the question and she didn't know the answer and she asked somebody, and very rarely happens she mentioned that I don't know an answer which is being asked in Toastmaster. And it takes a lot of courage and grace to accept that. And whenever somebody asks me the question and I don't know that, I'll either point that person to the right person, or maybe I'll say, let me check and get back to you. And that's where I will ask you guys as the president for your club, like how Sarvanan mentioned and how Jacob reiterated, president is the CEO of the club. What kind of culture you want to put for your club? At the end of 6 months or 1 year, what kind of legacy you want to leave for your club? What will be the USP for your club? Have you thought about that? If not, I would ask you guys, take a moment right now, pause, maybe if you have a book and a pen, maybe take a moment and reflect what kind of legacy culture you want to create for your club as the CEO, which we have said you are for your club. So just pause for a moment so that you can collect those thoughts. You don't have to reach for that exact answer for right now, but maybe just scribble it out for yourself. All right. I think most of you have scribbled. Moving ahead, another responsibility is you have access to the club-based manager with the other XCOM officer. Have that clarity within your club leader who will approve the level completion of the member. Primarily, it will fall on the vice president education, but have that conversation with the VPE. You might think vice president education might do it, and the vice president education might think that nobody came and told me. So it is always good to have that conversation within your XCOM. Who is the person who is going to approve? And in case, let's say, for example, I'll just take an example. Suppose Brandon is the vice president education and Doug is the president. And they had the conversation. And let's say Brandon is going for a holiday, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks. In his absence, who will take over? Will it be the president or will it be the secretary? Have that communication, have that plan in place. And this is just one example which I have taken for other places as well. Suppose the vice president membership of the club is not going to be available for one meeting or maybe a couple of meetings. In their absence, who will take over? Is there a buddy in place? Or as a president, do you need to step in? Or what is going to be that contingency plan? So for any role or responsibility within the club excom, if nobody is going to be there, what is your contingency plan? It might differ for Jacob, it might be different for Sula, it might be different for Christian. I wouldn't say that all of you need to have the same plan, but you need to have some kind of plan in the absence of the primary person who is responsible for that particular duty or activity. If that person is not there, how, as a team, we are going to ensure that it gets executed? Now, before the club meeting starts, what do you think are the roles and responsibilities of the president? Anybody feel free to raise hand or unmute. Yes, Brandon.
Yes, as a new president coming in, we're also a new club. And as Doug mentioned, he is actually the founder of this club. We're 2 years in and having a great time. And so we are trying to get structure put to this thing. And a little bit of my small business background, that is really the idea. And we were talking the other day, we have a local Boy Scout troop that Doug was part of, and it's 100 years strong. Right. And so that is kind of what I talk about as Doug's legacy. This is he's the founder of the club we're in. And the idea is that this thing carries on, long after him is gone, and long after I'm gone as well. And so the idea is setting that foundation and setting that structure. And, you mentioned earlier, Jacob, I believe mentioned earlier, is the culture side of things too. What is this club? What is the background of it? And Doug mentioned the other club he's part of, it's a heavy club over there. And so it's all, each club has its own little personality, but trying to anchor that stuff in and get, documentation behind it. And back to what I wrote down here is, a little bit of the plan B type stuff, right? And if person A is gone, who's covering for person B? And we don't got to figure it out every single time it happens. Like, hey, here's what we do, and here's how it goes. So
thank you, Brandon. Thank you for sharing that. And again, another thing I would bring is, whenever we are trying to bring that unique culture for a club, always try to anchor into that club mission somewhere. That's where how we should. We might choose to look it differently and interpret or a certain words of that club mission which resonate with us, but that is one of the good places to start with. Anybody else would like to share what they had scribbled down? Yes, Sula.
I think it's important to sort of set a vision for the club year so that members feel like they can participate in whatever particular goals are for the year, because the second half of the year gets very busy with contests. And if you don't start early in the year, then it'll be a scramble at the end of the year if you try to kick something off.
Thank you, Sula. Thank you for sharing that. That reminds me of one of my favorite quotes. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Right. So another thing which I would like to bring over here is a resource of Toastmaster International. In the earlier session, Pat had mentioned about club success plan. One of the ways you can initiate, and I would take a page from Sue's, what Sue contributed. As a member, what do you want to do? There is something called as member interest survey, and you can get it in Google. If you type in member interest survey Toastmasters, and probably you can share that particular resource with the members of your club to have their own plan for the next 6 months. How do they want to spend their time? What is that particular area they want to work upon? So it's a beautiful document. Go through that. You can share that PDF with the members and get an idea from the members how is their bandwidth that time. And probably you can identify who can be the members from your club, who can add to that level completion when we talk about distinguished program, or maybe in terms of adding members, people, someone who want to work upon that persuasion skill, influencing skill. Probably the VPM can bring them in their team, or maybe someone who wants to work upon them graphic designing skills, someone like that. Probably the VPPR can bring them in their team. So I would suggest, if you get the time, go on the Google and find this particular resource, member interest survey, and along with Toastmasters, you'll be able to find that document. Now, coming to before the meeting, as a president, you can do a couple of things so that the meeting runs smoothly. The first thing is check with the vice president education. Do we have all the role players as per the agenda? If not, if let's say there is a backout from a speaker, evaluator, role player, have that discussion. How are you guys going to manage? Now, it might be different for different clubs. In a certain club, a VP might be someone who is a veteran member and knows what to do. And for another club, it can be the case the VP is a new member who doesn't know how to go about if somebody backs out. As a president, you can guide and mentor the VP so that he is not afraid. What should I do if somebody backs out at the last moment? Again, in terms of level completion, you can check with the VP so the same can be acknowledged in the beginning address. Have a 1 to 2 minute of the presiding officer address so that inspire and motivate the members. Let's take an instance. Today we are having the club officer training program. Suppose Toastmaster Masato, I hope I'm pronouncing the right. And in your next meeting, you can say that 7 of our club officers have been trained, and we have ensured that we are getting that particular DCP point. This is something we have done together as a team. So whatever you're doing, share it with the club members as a moment of pride. Bring that transparency in your communication. Suppose a member from your club wins an area contest and represents the division. That can be shared at the club. So it is members' achievements, accolades. As a president, how can you bring in the club, maybe at the start or the end, and highlight that? Because as Toastmasters, we are the brand ambassadors. The more we achieve, the more we evolve and transform, and we are able to share that. That becomes a testimony for the new members and also encourages other members to pursue the same. In another aspect, the president can reach out to the vice president membership of the club. So Catherine, she can check with the BPM of a club. Do we have any new members who have joined the club? The presiding officer for the day can have an orientation ceremony. And if you are wondering what is the orientation ceremony, you can check in the club leadership handbook. That's club leadership handbook, Toastmasters. If you search on the Google, you will get that. In that, within the vice president membership section, you will get a small orientation ceremony. And that's something where the new members are inducted. They are asked to place their hand on the heart, and in orientation, 3 to 4 sentences, it's read out. It's a very special ceremony. I still remember the first time when I was inducted into the program. Why not do that? Probably if it's a physical or hybrid, if you can take a photo, you can ask as president, the VP, PR of the club, capture that moment and share it with the member who has been recently installed. That member can go and post it on the social media or handle that this is a program I have become recently part of. So this is how you can connect with the various club officers. Have a check-in with the vice president, public relation of the club. How many days before the meeting can we have the flyer out so that the members as well as potential members knows that there is a club who are going to meet at a particular time and place. So you need to be aware of the roles and responsibilities of the fellow club officers and check in with them and ask them, do you need any help? It should not be like a dictator or an autocratic. I am the president of the club and you need to do your roles and responsibilities. At the end of the day, all of us are volunteers and we need to check in with the people and ask them that, are they doing good? And if at time, if we see someone, for example, let's say the secretary has been sharing the minutes of the meeting within a day or two, every time for, let's say, 10 minutes, 12 meetings, and maybe for the 13th meeting, after 3 days, 4 days, the minutes have not been shared. Probably as a president, we can check in. Is everything all right? Rather than asking that, it's been 4 days, why haven't you shared the meetings? So that tonality, that voice, that makes that difference as a president. Definitely, president is the CEO of the club and sets that standard, that culture. How the tone, the warmth happens within the club, somewhere gets started with the president of the club. How he or she treats the fellow club officers and every member of the club whom they come in conversation with. Now, during the club meeting, we covered the president will preside the meeting. At the end of the club meeting, also the president will announce who won the best speaker, the best evaluator, the best role player. If that is a practice at the club, so the presiding officer will announce at the end of the club meeting. Any other observations you feel before or during the meeting, which is maybe peculiar to your club and I have not covered? Yes, Sarvana.
So one of the thing which we do sometimes I feel it's unnecessary is president beginning the meeting and president adjourning the meeting. Okay. While sometimes there may not be enough updates to share to the club as well. I find that there's a lot of a movement happening, but I was just wondering, is that a TI thing or that something do we have a flexibility to move that around?
It's followed across all the clubs. So if you look at the format, it's the president who starts the meeting, like I mentioned, opens the meeting as well as closes the meeting. So that's a format which is followed throughout the clubs across the world. So that's something we say. If you look at the introductory video of Toastmasters, you go to any meeting across the world, you will find the same format. So that's something which is suggested that you follow. And again, I would say it's I would say a privilege for the president of the club to take that 2 minute and give that presiding officer address. When I was the president of the club, I look forward to that. I used to write, and somewhere later on, when after my club leadership, it helped me in my table topic speaking as well. When I was the president of the club, I did not think that particular activity will help me. But after I completed my term of the president, and 4 years later, that's last year, current year completed, I came second in my district in table topic speaking. And if I have to look back and reflect, I would definitely say that yes, that small activity of writing that presiding officer address, that helped me a lot. That helped me to ensure that I had a bucket of inspirational stories. That helped me in my prepared speeches as well. So one thing I would say, do it for the members. Your speech will inspire them. And second, if not, do it for yourself. It will vary from person to person. I will leave up to you to find your why. But I will definitely suggest that that's a practice which will benefit you as well as the club for having an opening and closing. And then, Sarvanan, thank you for that question. And whether it's the club meeting or the club officer meeting, just the executive committee meeting, president always get that privilege to chair the meeting and call the house in order. So that's a privilege as the president. One practice which I saw at my club, I would say, which I didn't follow later, I would say 2 years down the line, new president, he did and liked it. At the end of the meeting, he would ask the guests, in one word, tell me how did you find the meeting? And I like the practice vision. And I said, I missed it as a president to do that. That's something I would share and I would leave up to you. But he would request the guest in one word. At the beginning, most of us ask the guests to greet, to introduce themselves. But that's something I saw and I liked it. Fun, amazing, great, boring. He kept it open. If you didn't enjoy, you can say that as well. Monotonous. And that's something I would share with you guys. And I will leave the call to you whether you want to incorporate that and how you want to incorporate that. Just a minute. Yeah. Yeah. Again, as president, you will be part of the area council meeting. So the president, the vice president education, and the vice president membership will be part of the area council meeting. And also you get to attend and vote at the annual business meeting. You can also have an audit committee to audit the financials of your club, and also appoint the nominating committee, that is for the incoming term. If you want to run the election, the best way to go about is have a nominating committee. Other responsibilities would be to receive official correspondence from the world headquarters, schedule and chair executive committee meetings, develop and improve club leadership. One of the things which I have seen sometimes is some clubs struggle with club leadership. When the election come, unfortunately, as club leaders, we have to run behind people to take up certain leadership role. Since you are starting right now, I would ask you guys, give a thought to that. At the end of 6 months or 1 year, would you have enough people to volunteer for leadership role, or will you have to run behind them? And what is it that you can do it today? What happens is 1 month before the new term starts, we roll out the form and start looking out for the leaders. So one of the important role as a president is to create that leadership funnel. So right now, how can you involve the future leaders of the? Do you see enthusiast members who are currently not your club leaders, but in future they can be? What kind of opportunities you can give? How you can involve them in the club affairs so that they feel a part of the club and volunteer for the club leadership in future. Also create a club budget. For example, the ribbons, the trophies during the contest, the stationery required, or any other mementos or souvenirs you would like to give to your members. It may vary from club to club. Maybe for a corporate club, it is taken care by the corporate. For a community club, it needs to be taken care by the fees which is paid by the members. So create a club budget, connect with the treasurer, and check how much surplus funds do you have after making payment to the Toastmaster International. Accordingly, you can plan how you want to utilize the funds. Involve the other club officers as well. And again, the distinguished club program, the club success plan, what we spoke about, it's not a one-time activity. Check. Maybe probably, let's say I'm from one of your clubs. Let's say I'm a member of Howard's club, and Howard had put my name as one of the person who would finish couple of levels. And in September, I don't renew. I leave the club. Now, if Villian doesn't check that my name has been put in the club success plan, the club will face struggle in terms of, since I left the club, who will now finish that level and who will help the club to achieve the distinguished club program. So that creating that club success plan, it's not a one-time activity. In regular interval, check. Suppose you have given me after 3 months, have I given one speech or two speeches? How am I progressing on that particular plan that as a president you have put me in? So that regular checkup is required. Yes, Doug, you have raised your hand.
Yeah, I just want to add wherever it will fit in. Um, in my experience, when you start getting close to achieving your distinguished Toastmaster, you can get so focused on that you, particularly in volunteering for district leadership, which is a requirement for DTM. If you're president of the club or VPE, you can get so involved in other goals, not just other Toastmasters goals, but that you can forget your primary duty to the club. And that's what I'm trying to say is from my own experience, taking on district roles can dilute your attention to your club, your primary responsibility to your club. Um,
Thank you, Doug. Thanks for sharing that. So, anybody over here who is, along with being a president or club officer, taken up a district role? Oh, I see Sula and Jacob. Yes, we have got two people in the room. So let's serve that as a caution that there is a perception that when it happens, it could happen that your bandwidth is taken upon. And I'm sure Sula and Jacob, you are going to rock both the roles as club presidents and as well as district officers. And what I would say is it's always important to have the intention and clarity. And once you have both of those things, I'm sure you will rock in both of role. And there is a whole system out there to help you. Whether as a district officer, there is division director, and there are fellow district officers. And as a president, you have your own team. So it's how you plan and go about sharing that responsibility instead of taking everything on your shoulders. So that's a challenge for you. This is something, an important point which Doug has brought out, which can happen with sometimes when we are having too many things on the plate. But thanks to Doug for bringing out right at the start. Give a thought to that, you guys, Jacob and Sula. You have taken two roles, how you can do that. And I'm sure you're going to rock. I did that during my term. I did vice president education and area director together. I did president and division director together. And when I was the president, as per marshals.org, that's a link which consolidate how the clubs performed based on their education, and they have their own criteria. So my club was in the top 25, and as a division director also I came on top of the board. So in my district I was on the top as a division. And credit to the team, I had amazing, very good team, and they helped me achieve both the milestones. So the only thing I just had to discuss with them and follow up with them, and they ensured that the plans were executed. So Doug, a very valid point, and it again brings back the importance to having a very good team and a strong team. Sometimes you have to carry them, and the other times they will carry you. If you are there for them, and when you require them, they will be there for you. And just give me a moment. I'll just try to share, if I'm able to share the PPT once. We have covered the whole points. So anybody has any thoughts, your opinions or experience? So the session, most of the points are covered. I'll just run you guys. But in the meantime, as I'm trying to share that, anybody would like to?
Yeah, so Sunish, I have a question. I think as you're
Yes.
bringing it up, I know we have some experienced presidents here. I'd like to seek their insights, especially this organization is a volunteer run, and some officers are, let's say, pulled into the roles. Not all of them like to do it. So I would like to hear your advice on what worked for you in bringing the officers closer together and helping them do their roles, right? There are various tactics. I know what applies to your club may not applies to mine. I'd like to hear your top three things that really worked over the years of experience.
Thank you, Sarvanan, for that question. One thing which worked for me was, I would say, what Doug mentioned. I knew I was taking two roles as club president and division director. I had a lot on my plate. I empowered my leaders. the vice president education and the vice president membership. I spent a lot of time with them on one-on-one calls beyond the club meetings, and it helped them a lot. I did not impose my leadership style on them. I remember the VP was a new member just 2 months into the club and took up the role of VP. He asked me, how do you want me to be a vice president? And I told him, read the resources. You come and tell me what kind of a vice president education you want to be. I have done the vice president education role to my heart, to my content. I don't want you to replicate everything I have done. I'll share with you what I did, but I want you to come up with your own unique ideas. So I empowered the vice president education and the vice president membership. This was a time during COVID, and many clubs in my district, they had reduced their fees, and the vice president membership said that we should also reduce that fees so that members come, or else our club's fees will see a bit higher. And we had a discussion. I said that it might happen that the fees again goes high in future, and then that time we will have to increase it double fold. So let's try to give additional value to the members instead of jumping onto the bandwagon. And we had a discussion. So I still remember it was more than an hour call. And finally, they believed me and trusted me. And they said, okay, let's do that. So I never imposed any decision on them. Anything my club officers could question me. And the other thing was, there was a time when one club officer, sergeant at arms, was not, because there was a family issue, a health issue in the family, and that sergeant at arms couldn't do the duty and wasn't available. So we didn't find a replacement. We had a discussion within the club officers, and we said that we will divide the role and we will do that. So that's how I did it for my club, and it worked for me. And I will leave up to you guys how you want to do that. But for me, I would say what worked was that having that conversation, and where they can come and ask me any question. And sometimes I have seen that sometimes the answer is, this is something we always used to do that, so let's do it this time as well. I never said that. I always, the moment I caught myself saying that particular answer, I always say that, let me get back to you. So I always never said that this is something we always did that, so let's do it. Always try to give a logical answer which made sense to me and to them as well. Hope that answers, Savana.
Thank you, Sunish.
So we looked at the president role, responsibilities, the resources. Yes, Jacob.
Real
Yeah.
quick, yes, sorry, real quick. So I basically got forced into being the president for two clubs that are not motivated. I'm having trouble getting my leadership team to even want to be leaders. I only basically have right now in both clubs, me and the VPE are the only two that are actually actively participating. Members are just kind of coming, they're not actually participating. So I have a lot of that I'm trying to build, and also being a division director, I'm just juggling a lot. Like, how would you recommend motivating the leadership team and also motivating the members?
Thank you,
If that
Jacob.
makes sense.
Yes, thanks for that question. Let me try to answer that. And if you're not content, ask me again and tell me I'm not happy with the answer. Again, I'll take my experience when I was the president of the club during the pandemic times. People sometimes later stage used to hardly join the meeting. We used to plan a lot, and sometimes 9 people, 10 people used to join out of a club strength of 40, 50. And it used to demotivate me. And I used to feel, okay, we are doing so much planning and people are not coming. And my vice president membership told me, let's have a good time. Let us enjoy. The moment we are in the meeting room, we should enjoy. And that's what I did. Any meeting, any place I go, I try to enjoy myself, have a good time. As a president, if I come and say, thank you, I see only 7 people, thanks for taking out the time and joining, we appreciate, it comes off. At the same time, if I say, thank you guys, on a Saturday evening, when you had the opportunity to go and hang out, but you chose to attend this particular meeting, I really appreciate the commitment you guys had. Let's have a fun time. And that's what I say, enjoy your time. And that's why I would take a story of Mark Twain, where he mentioned that he was given a punishment by his parents to paint the fence, and he showed that he was enjoying painting the fence, and his friends came and saw that, oh, he's having such a good time, and they gave him their pocket money to paint the fence. So what I would say, Jacob, it's a privilege you are getting to be the president of two clubs. You are in a position to influence not one but two clubs. Enjoy that. Start finding your why. You get to give presiding officers at two clubs. You can be that factor of the change. So look for that positivity. Change the word you are using. That's what I say. Our words control our thoughts control our words. So stop saying, I have been pushed into the role, and start saying, I have chosen to step into this role.
Oh, someone had their hand raised.
I saw that suddenly it disappeared. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they left. It looks like
No,
they
I
were
think
outside of the district.
no,
Yes.
I think they were doing the clap emoji.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Because if they raised their hand, they would have popped up to the first
Yeah.
spot.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I noticed that too, and I'm like, oh, it's the clap emoji.
No,
Hi.
thanks for that.
Thanks for finishing your training, Bob. Titan Toastmasters rule.
Thank you, trainers, for helping out. Thank
Yeah,
you,
we really
officers, for coming, getting trained.
Yeah, so
And hi,
Patrick, I'm
Jacob.
sorry.
Nice to see you.
I, I
Hi,
had
David.
I had seen your chat come up, Patrick, and I lost it. I wasn't aware that this the chats are now listed across the top. So um I did not record, but I can record a separate session later on
Oh,
this weekend.
secretary, right? No worries. We do have August 5th. Are you going to do August 5th? Patrick, who is going to do the
I'm looking.
Yes, thank you.
Secretary
Don't worry,
Treasurer on the
William.
5th is Mindy, and Mindy has already recorded hers. It's on her work computer. She might be able to access it on Monday. I'll follow up with
Yeah,
her.
let's follow up and see. Don't worry, William. If you couldn't do
Okay.
that, we will ask the next. We do have a 2 more session, and we can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, William.
I
Appreciate you
apologize.
wanting to go above and beyond.
Yeah.
So,
Bye. Have a
All right.
good.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
thanks. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Johnny, being a Zoom master. And
Yeah, well, I can't. I'm host. If I close, then
don't close.
everyone gets
Let's
kicked out.
everybody
So
can.
hanging in.
Oh, Roger, do you need a help or you are muted?